Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we're specifically going to talk about Riching Right in Phandalin and the new era of Dungeons & Dragons play, where we as Dungeon Masters bring the question to every single Dungeons & Dragons player, are you riching right? Okay? Wait, Scott, why should I ask my players if they're riching right in Dungeons & Dragons? They're adventurers. They're rich. Being rich has certain demands on you today. This is new. Back in the old days, we accepted robber barons. We don't live in those days anymore. This is 2025, and there is an expectation in Forgotten Realms when your rich adventurer rolls into, and all adventurers are rich. All adventurers are rich. That's one thing we need to acknowledge, right? We are playing Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Now, if you want to play a dirt farmer, yeah, I think you could do that in Shadowdark, right? But in Dungeons & Dragons 1e adventure, you can literally start as a folk hero, right? There's no question. There are no poor 1e 5. There are no poor Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition first level adventures. There's simply none. No, it just doesn't happen, right? Okay. So you're coming into D&D, you are rich, and for the first 50 years we didn't worry about this. We're moving into the second 50 years. You're like, what do you mean by riching right? Well, this is a major new concern in 2025 in America. You can't simply be rich, right? Once you are rich, you have obligations to society. Are you sure about that, Scott? Go ask Jeff Bezos, right? That guy, fell in love and said, hey, I'm going to get married. People booed him at his wedding. Right? It was like, how dare you spend millions of dollars in our economy? You don't rich right, right? So we don't, and we want to teach Dungeons & Dragons players how to rich right. Okay, so how do we do that? What is the behavior that is demanded of them? That's a good question, and what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about understanding that every Dungeons & Dragons 5e, and this starts even at first level. When you get to 5, 10, 15, 20th level, you're talking hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of wealth. And that demands specific obligations from those player characters, right? And in order to get that from the player character, you, as the dungeon master, have to educate the players about what riching right is. Okay. All right, so let's go. So how do we get there? How do we explain to everybody at the table, you may be poor, you may actually be a middle class person. You don't know how to rich right because you're literally not rich, but you need to learn this to play Dungeons and Dragons. Because in Dungeons and Dragons, if we do not answer this question, then we are propagating the problem. And it's specifically a sharp problem. It has an edge that will make us bleed, right? And the reason why is Dungeons & Dragons players are very likely to become rich, right? People are not attracted to games that have that have an opening ante of 1,150 pages of reading, right? Like, those people are on track to be rich, right? And when they get there, we as the dungeon masters need to have taught them this is how you rich right as a player character, so that they will rich right as a person, right? And the reason why is Dungeons & Dragons isn't about sitting around and having fun. Dungeons & Dragons is about cutting not goblins in half, but cutting your deficiencies in half as a person. That's what it was built for, in my humble opinion. All right, here we go. Okay, so how do we get them there? Well, the first thing we need to do is explain to every single player at the table. And you're not going to be able to just say what I'm saying, right? You're going to have to show this through the narrative. This will take weeks, months, or even years to show this, right? And it might start with you, but it might not end with you, right? But we need to get to the point where all dungeon masters are beginning to explain to people how to rich right as player characters, so that they will rich right as people. Okay? All right, so let's go. Okay. So what do we need to get across to them? What we as dungeon masters need to get across to every single Dungeons & Dragons player is that as a Dungeons & Dragons adventurer, You are always delivering justice to everyone you encounter. That's why you're an adventurer. And this is what we got wrong for the first 50 years. All adventurers are obligated to give two types of justice: edge justice and social justice. Okay, so what is edge justice? You know what edge justice is. Okay, hey, we're in Phandalin, right? And Harbin Wester goes, in the Neverwinter Forest, there is a green dragon. Come over here. These 6 charred corpses. These were actually, for a green dragon, I guess it would be acid breath. No, that's black. I think it would be poison breath. So he's like, these corpses here were these six corpses are all woodcutters who were slain in the Neverwinter Forest by a green dragon, right? And we've done this for 50 years. And the adventurers go, no problem. Edge justice. And they all raise up their sword, right? And they're like, we're going to run into that forest and we're going to cut that green dragon to pieces. We're going to deliver justice by the edge of our swords. Edge justice. We know what it is. We've been delivering it for 50 years, right? So they go out. They deliver edge justice, okay? They defeat the green dragon and they find his hoard. In that hoard is 10,000 gold, right? In that hoard is 4 rare magic items. In that hoard is 16 gems, right? So they go, they kill the dragon, they come back, and when they come back in, what are they going to do when they come back into Phandalin, that which is placed between Waterdeep and Neverwinter? They are going to deliver social justice. They're going to take some of that gold and give it to the people, the miners and the woodcutters. They're going to take some of those gems and give it to the people, the miners and the woodcutters, right? The serving people, right? In the Stonehill Tavern, right? The hedge witch who lives, at the edge of the city, right? Or at the edge of the village, right? They're going to take one of those magic items, right? One of the young people in that town, they don't have any way to get out, right? But they can take that +2 sword and give it to, the young man who is been working in the stables for 3 years, right? And he can become the next he can become the next person, right? Not just, saddling horses, but actually going out and delivering edge justice and delivering social justice, right? The adventurers have the power to change the Forgotten Realms. As dungeon masters, it's our responsibility to demand that they do it, right? And actually, I guess I was saying that it wasn't we should just give them the opportunity. I think that's wrong. It is our responsibility to make the people who arrive at our Dungeons and Dragons table better people so that we can have a better society. And the reason why is these aren't Call of Duty players, right? You're never going to convince any Call of Duty player to do anything of significance or relevance or good, right? Call of Duty players aren't there. They're not, they're not playing Call of Duty to accomplish anything, right? But when you come to the Dungeons and Dragons table, you are saying, I'm investing in interaction, human interaction. I'm investing in physical books, right? I want society to learn and grow. I value the written word, right? You're also saying, I refuse to be spoon-fed narrative. I want narrative that I have built myself. I want narrative that I have built collaboratively, right? They are saying, it's not enough for me to be me. I need to be more. I need to see the sunset on 30 worlds. My heart needs to beat on 30 worlds. I need to be able to swap out good and bad from my identities. I cannot be contained within one identity, right? And so these people, these are the world shakers. These are the world breakers. And we need to make them better people. Riching right in Phandalin. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.